Bessie would make lovely desserts and things for us in our cabins. She was so lovely. And Elizabeth, just, so bountiful and so so careful in every detail of anything that was looking after us. In fact, when we first went, there was this cupboard in the wall, a wall cupboard, and then when we opened it, the prune juice bottles, prune. I love fruit juices. In fact, I found America so, so full of fruit juices and things. And I said, if I ever draw a map of America, I would draw beautiful mountains, and there would be waterfalls coming down each mountain. And one would be the prune juice waterfall, one would be orange juice waterfall, one would be apple juice waterfall. But apart from that, what the best thing we found in America with all these many beautiful things were the people. Amazingly friendly, wherever we went, perfect strangers, no matter what. Even the dentist we had to go to, or right on the road when we were walking. And I had that hurt knee after the accident, so I walked with a stick. How many cars would stop and ask if I wanted a lift? And when you went to this motel, they'd give you these bouquets of flowers for the people who were in the bash. The one who had an accident. And they would say, are you the people who were in the bash? And I'd say, yes. Very heartwarming. But to come down to Bessie, at that time, in the center, there used to be these phones for cabins, to connect cabins, and it was like a coffee grinder, because you turned the handle and then you could talk. So I'd call it the coffee grinder. I said, Bessie, is the coffee grinder ringing? Ah, Miss Money, his body is a coffee grinder. She was wonderful. Now they have regular phones, no? From even among the cabins. The ones that go tring.
No phones in the cabin.
No, in the kitchen, the main where all the phones are connected to the cabins.
There are 2 or 3 isolated cabins that have phones. The women's cabin is one, and then the kitchens.
A chair.
But they're all regular phones.
No intercom.
No matter which way you look at it, it's a phony business. And what a time I have at that trust office with that phone. Of course, it's the only exercise I get. Anybody says, phone, and everybody starts running. Doesn't matter who it's for. And then when you find it's for someone else, just local, we tell each other, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Wow. And you can't hear what they're saying. And funny part is, sometimes one party is very clear to the other, and the other one shouts, and can't hear the other one. And yet, I've known an American Baba lover sit in Adi's office by the phone and having a conversation with someone in America, and she said it was so clear, like he was in the room. And she just talked on and on and on. I don't know how many minutes, and I don't know how much it cost. I couldn't believe it. I'd come in every now and then and look, she was still talking. Here we have an hourglass of 3 minutes. The moment the 3 minutes are done, bang, J Baba, bang. Otherwise you're charged for 3 more minutes. They don't go by the minute, they go by 3 minutes, you see. It's very exciting.
Bobby spent most of yesterday waiting for a call. Follow?
Yes.
And he said, next time when you come, bring one thing to the trust. I said, what's that? A gun? I said, gun? What do you want a gun for? The phone people. And he's been placed this call and waiting.
Well, he went very early this morning and it was successful. But the funniest thing happened one day on the phone. I picked up the phone and I told the operator, my number's so-and-so and I want so-and-so. He said yes, and I said thank you, and he said J Baba. I said J Baba, put it down, and I said, wow, but that was the operator. I mean, that's not a Baba lover. How did you say J Baba? Oh. And then a few months later it happened again. And I always thought I must go and find out who's the Baba lover working in the... But it seemed so natural. I said J Baba, I said J Baba. Put it down. And then electric shock. He said J Baba.
Is that where Kitty got her? She's so abrupt when the conversation's over. You don't even have time to say goodbye. She's very
Yes, just hangs up.
Yeah. She got a friend, she said one day, Kitty offered her an orange on the phone.
Sometimes I have to talk to Kitty. She talked at me, and when the conversation, when she had said what she had, it was long. I didn't even have a chance to say goodbye. It's like,
You wonder what you said wrong.
but that sense.
All of a sudden she just hangs up.
Or sometimes what happens is when you do get a clear reception, like that day when I phoned Erich. How are you? How are you all? Yes, we're all fine. How are you all? We're all fine. You all right? Yes, you're all right? Yes. And it's, my goodness, 2 minutes have gone. Give our love to everybody, yes, and they all send love to you all. That's right. And how are you all? Yes, we're fine. Goodness gracious.
There's that story of Kitty on the phone. In her office, it's like a madhouse because people are always coming in and buying books, and she'll tell 2 or 3 people to come at the same time because she forgets that she's told, someone else to come at a certain time. So, and then while she's doing all this and trying to juggle people and have one person sit on the veranda and one person go sit on the back porch or whatever, the phone will be ringing. And she'll be picking up the phone and carrying on these conversations. So one day she picked up the phone while all this was going on, said, yes, yes. Are you a problem or are you a book? You never know what she's going to say.
Monty, you said that people in America were so friendly.
Yes.
I wondered if you didn't have that experience anywhere that you were, because of your connection with Baba. It seemed that somehow people were friendly and especially open all the time, or was it especially noticeable in America?
Well, that's a big outing that we went to.
No, even in England.
In England,
New
yes.
life
Yes.
around the...
Yes, yes. No, I never thought of that. Yes, of course. It is all from Baba. But I tell you, right on the plane, I was sitting at the back of an American couple. They were sitting at the back of me. I forget, that was when first we were going, before the accident and all. And the girl turned around, the woman turned around, and we said something to each other. And then they were so friendly, they didn't know I was with a whole party of other people. And they invited me to their home to stay, and they could show me around America. And then I came to my senses, and I said, oh, that's very, very sweet of you, but I'm along with the others. Oh, we didn't know, they thought I would be alone. But going to that extent of offering to invite a stranger to live with them in their house, that they could show me around America and all, and everywhere. I still remember when I would come from the hospital in Prague, where Baba was, so I would go and come. There was the motel and the hospital. So I'd go around this particular row of houses, and one day the children were waiting there with a basket, and they'd been waiting there obviously for 2 hours, because I was somehow later that day coming from the hospital, to show me that their doggy had this litter, and they wanted me to be the first to see it. I mean, overwhelming things like that. And the parents came out, and they were so happy, and they would always ask, how is so-and-so, and how is the party that has been injured. Amazing things. But there was one very funny incident in the beginning. Right after the accident, it was such a different picture when we left in the car, because Elizabeth was driving, and Baba, Mara, Meru, and myself were in the car. And we were at the back, and at the point of the accident, I had been sitting with my feet up and my head back. And I'd heard the excitement, and I kept saying to them, why are they excited? It's all right. It'll be like, usually we say, if a goat comes in, we say, Baba, 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 Baba. So I was just lying down like that. But anyway, it happened. And then the car picture was suddenly so different. And I still remember that beautiful little hat Elizabeth had on with a veil in front. A small is that what you call a vein? And it was full of blood. Everything was blood at the time when, after everything was done, and Baba and Mera were in the hospital, and Sarosh then took Delia and myself to some place where we could stop, where he could deal with the others, and then take us to where a motel was found or whatever. The others were in the hospital with Baba still. So he took us to this place, and there was Delia and myself. And I was very strong during the crisis, and saying, when Gaver came up, and she was just about to be hysterical with unbelief, what this Baba, and I said, Gaver, don't cry, don't cry. Things have to be done. You have so much to do. And all like that, I was up till the whole thing in the hospital. I would go to the doctor and say about Mera, please do something for her now. The others were with Baba. After all that was done, and I was in this room somewhere in some locality in Prague, where I was just completely finished then. And I had a cry to myself till I was just completely washed out. And then I knew, again, there was things to do, work to do. This is all right. But I was feeling so weak, and all I needed was a hot drink. But who do you ask for a hot drink? And poor Delia was having a bladder problem. Usually she was in that room. So I started walking out of the house. I walked out, and I went on, and I said, I'll go to some place where there is a house and knock on the door, and I'll go to somebody's house and ask for a cup of coffee. But it's so different from India. The houses that I saw were all, the doors were shut, and the windows had blinds down. And I said, have they all gone out? Have they all left this place and gone to some other place? But no, I looked at the opposite side, it was the same. I mean, in India, life is so much on the roads, in the streets. Every door is open, and so many children coming out, and hens and goats, and people screaming from the upstairs windows. But this was no sign of life. And I said, now what shall I do? I'll try. So I knocked gingerly on one door, and it opened just a couple of inches. And a gaunt old man looked at me, and when he saw me, he seemed frightened, shut the door, and went on in. I said, now what shall I do? I must have this cup of something hot. It was a matter of life and death to me at that moment. I went 2 more doors later. I said, Baba, whichever you want. I knocked again. A woman opened this time. Again, just a few inches. And she looked at me, but she looked at me in the eyes. So she opened the door. She said, yes? What do you want? I said, all I want is a cup of hot coffee, please. Well, she said, I'm sorry. We have no coffee in the house. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a nickel, and you go and have a cup of coffee. So she put this money in my hand, which I hadn't seen, American money. I didn't know what it meant, how much it cost. And I said, but I don't know where to go. She looked surprised. I said, we've been in an accident, and we're from India, and I'm just here, and I don't know where to go. I need a hot drink. But she said, go straight like this and turn to the left and go to this place, and there it is. So I followed the directions and walked in as if I walked in every day for a cup of coffee, went and sat at this little table, plonked down my nickel. The man came and said, what? And I said, a cup of coffee. It seemed very natural. He picked up the nickel, went, gave me a cup of coffee. Oh, life surged into me after having that cup of coffee. Then I remembered the directions back again, because I'm not very good at directions and of roads and places. And I went back to the room. After a while, Sarosh came. In fact, it took a long time in coming. But when he came, he said, come on, we have to go. I said, no, Sarosh. First, I want some money. Which one? I said, you show me all the coins. I will pick the one I mean. So he put all these different dollar and whatever it is, quarter, and all those things in his hand, and I picked the size that I knew was the right one, and I went back to that house, and I knocked. Again, she opened the door, and she was surprised. She said, what do you want now? I said, thank you very much for the nickel. I've had a cup of coffee. I want to return it. Oh, no, she said. No, I didn't mean that. You please keep it. I said, well, what shall I do with it? You keep it, maybe as a souvenir of a girl who came and knocked on your door and asked for a cup of coffee. So she laughed, and I laughed, and we said thank you and greeted, and I went back. They're very naturally friendly people. Like when we were sitting in New York, in this, Charmian had driven us for X-rays of Mara because she was hurt very badly in the head. And the amazing thing is, the Dr. Burleson's wife, who was such an angel, there again, she need not have done all she did for us personally, she and her whole family. So when we left, it was really as very good friends. I still write to her every Christmas, and she tells me about her grandchildren now, whereas I've seen her children so little. And she said to me, she called Mara the lady, and she said, write to me sometimes. Let me know how the lady is doing. I said, I will, Mrs. Burleson, but tell me, what is it that you expect that you tell me to do this? What is it that you expect will happen? She said, at the least, she will have terrible headaches. Well, she was so amazed when I wrote that Mara doesn't have any headaches. As a matter of fact, I who have headaches, Mara, by Barbara's grace, doesn't have headaches. It's very, very rarely that she'd even complain of a little tightness. And even normally we all have headaches. So when I wrote that, and she wrote back that this was really a miracle, she couldn't understand it. But about the friendliness. So when we were sitting in this big hospital in New York, what was that big hospital, Governor? Mara was taken for X-rays. John Hopkinson? Huh? Right. Sit aloud.
Anyway, the medical center.
Cornell Medical Center.
Anyway, we were placed in a room by Charmian because she had to go and park her car, which was a problem. She had to go a long distance to put her car somewhere and then come back and be with us and then take us to wherever it had to be done. So go here, Mara and myself were in this room. And it would be quite some time before Charmian would come back. And we looked at each other, and I think we all realized what was happening to the other. We were thirsty. Could we have some water or a soft drink or something? So thirsty. Are you thirsty? Yes. I was. Oh, I'm parched. I said, wait a minute. I'll go out. After all, what can happen? I'll go and find out if there's something available. So I went out. There seemed miles of corridors. I just walked, and I wondered if I'd be able to get back. Suddenly I see someone dressed in a uniform, wasn't a nurse, or sister maybe, but she was walking, and I said, excuse me, where can I get some soft drink, a drink of water or some soft drink? Oh, she looks at me like she'd known me for ages, and she said, I'll take you there, don't you worry. And she put her arm around my shoulder, and we were walking and talking like long-lost buddies, and she took me to this place where they were selling Coca-Cola and 7-Up and all that, and which would you like? And she said, can I help you carry back? I said, no. But she wouldn't even let me pay for it. And I kept saying, no, you must. Oh, she said, please, this is on me. This is just, you mustn't say no. You can't say no, she said. So friendly. So as I carried the bottles back, I realized I didn't have money. It's good she didn't take me up on my saying, insisting, no, I'll pay. And I said to myself, what would I have paid me? But it was to that extent. And this is only a sample. This was the same thing the whole trip through. And the same in England and elsewhere. In England, Baba had given me silence. I was kept on silence from the time we left Myrtle Beach right till we came to India, except that I could talk to him. So you see, I was on silence. But
That man, but you were Italian.
no, but what was the point of my saying?
But you were still being friendly.
Yes, yeah. So there, the head waiter, when I'd go down to the dining room in London, at the Rubens Hotel, I couldn't talk, but the head waiter would come, conduct me to my place like I was a princess or something, and he'd say, I'll read out the menu, and anything you like, just nod. He knew I couldn't talk. So, and I didn't know anything about the menu. All these long names and these wonderful names, but I didn't know what they were. So I'd go like tic-tac-toe, say, seventh time I'll say yes, third time I'll say no, I'll say yes to that. So every now and then I'd nod and he'd tick. and every now and then he'd read on, and I'd nod, and he'd tick. Somehow I nodded at the right things because the food was just wonderful. Everything that came was just wonderful. And then he'd call out to the waiters to bring. And I heard one of them say something about, "Cool, blimey, she's dumb, but she ain't deaf." You dumb and deaf. But I happened to hear everything the little time. I just glared at the man. Said, "You wait, my boy."
What about the one in the
Oh yes, and then there was this Italian worker there in the Rubens Hotel. I always seemed to pass him in the aisle before going on to our rooms.
Yeah.
And he would come to me come straight to me and talk a lot in Italian accent about was it in Italian? No, in Italian accent.
You were Italian, so you
Yes, he thought I was Italian. So he was telling me in Italian. I knew it was all his woes because he didn't like England. He would make faces at the cold and it was so shivery and that nice sunny Italian. He wanted to go to Italiana, you see. And I'd look like this, and when I didn't reply, he said, "Huh?" I said, oh, he was so sorry for me. But he didn't have enough money to go back to Italy. That was the whole thing. He didn't have enough money. I gathered that. But I didn't have any money, you see, so I couldn't help him. But as I was going back to Baba's room, right at my feet, I saw a shiny gold big coin. And I picked it up. And I said, "Hey, maybe if I can go back and give it to my Italian friend, maybe this will help him get to Italy or something." But then I said, "No, but how can I? It look bad. I don't know how much this coin value is." And I'm glad I didn't, because I was told it was only a penny. Big fat thing, and I never. And the page boy I loved. He was a young little thing, very smartly dressed in uniform. And he loved asking me, "Which floor are you going on? Which floor, miss?" He'd say, "Which floor, miss?" And he knew darn well which floor, because he was taking him up every afternoon, every evening, every morning for breakfast, lunch, and supper. But still, I could see the glint in his eyes, sort of, "Wait till I go home and tell my family," you see. So, "Which floor, miss?" And I'd say, I'd just point out the three fingers, and he'd be so happy. And then we were taken by Delia to all the places in England, very, very happy. I mean, she went out of her way and conducted us everywhere, and everything that we would like. And once we went past Buckingham Palace. I wanted very much to see the Queen, but of course we couldn't see the Queen. And we couldn't see the palace either, but we could see part of the palace because there's a big wall around. And then there's the highway, the road, and the broad pavement and broad roads. So by the palace gate, by the gate of Buckingham Palace, stood this officer in a beaver's hat, was known as a beaver. Guard, that's right, a guard in the beaver hat. Long thing like that, with a strap that couldn't hear, and all. And he's in a little wooden box, the same size. So, and I was thrilled, just thrilled to see one of them in person, not just in a magazine, in person. So as we were walking past, I dawdled.
Straight ahead.
Huh? Yes, I dawdled past just to see him. But he may have been curious at these strange people going by. Not a bit. He looked straight ahead, very solid, as if carved out of granite, you see. Very solid, it's just. And I said, And I wanted to arouse his curiosity. I was sure he was curious, but why was he not doing anything? But no. So even as we went past him, he was still like that. So I was the last. I passed by, and suddenly I whirled round. Sure enough, his head was like this. But when he saw I was looking back straight. I said, "Serves you, my boy." The funniest was when I fooled Delia, not meaning to, because I'd always wanted to see a London bobby. A London bobby? You see, we've had English education, not only meaning the English language, but during the English regime, so our geography and history was very much of England. So, and then the London bobby. Oh, if I could only see one in person. So once when Minter was driving us to Stratford-on-Avon to see
Shakespeare's.
Shakespeare.
Huh?
Shakespeare's birthplace.
Shakespeare's birthplace. She forgot the way, or she wanted to know if this was the correct turning. So she gestured, signaled to a policeman. And he came over. And he was standing right where I was, just by me, you know. I was in this side of the car by the window, and he was standing right outside, and I couldn't believe it. I just looked at him in person, at last, a living Bobby. So then when we went to Madame Tussauds Museum, where they have all these wax effigies of everyone, all the famous people, well, before you go in to the top, upstairs, where all the exhibitions really are, you go up on the staircase inside. So on the landing, before you turn onto there's a wax statue of a Bobby. So I knew it was a wax thing. But Delia obviously didn't, because when I went up the steps, I purposely put out my hand and said, "How do you do?" and touched the policeman, and we were not supposed to touch any man. And Delia was shocked. "Oh, Marnie, how can you?" And I suddenly realized that she didn't know, so I said, "Well, why not, Delia? Why not?" So I put my hand out again, and then she realized, we were laughing all at once. Huh?
You weren't talking then, your gestures.
I wasn't talking. I wasn't talking.
And you weren't talking.
Ah, now see how one can forget. I was doing just by gestures and all. So I went defiantly, turned my back on her and put my hand out again to touch the Bobby. You're right, I wasn't. Poor Delia. One o'clock. You know, we're not supposed to look at the sun today, mind you. And the funny part is I never look at the sun, really, straight at the sun. But today, I'm more conscious of looking at the sun. So you have to be the same thing with David. You know, I told David, and he says, "Yes, I don't look at it either, but today I've got to remember." I said, "No, remember, keep looking down."
So much disappeared.
They were.
Zero.